Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are discussing a comedy action game named Sir Whoopass. And joining me, as always, to discuss games big and small is Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You know what this game reminded me of, for both better and worse? This sort of Captain Underpants for adults.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to say it reminded me of 300 Spartans or romance movie.
Yeah, okay. Not Another Teen Movie was good. They were terrible after that. Moving on.
Yes.
This week's fun fact comes from one of our beloved, I guess you'd call them co-hosts, beloved host of our sister show, ZP. And this is maybe one of my favorite fun facts we've ever done. So this comes from, there's a Popular Mechanics article from 2018, and I felt the need to fact check it. So there's also a New York Times article from 2017, and I can't believe I haven't heard about this for 5 years. So I'm just going to read the section from the New York Times article. And I quote, "Mountain goats love salt. They are known to travel more than 15 miles to lick natural salt deposits, which provide essential nutrients. But human urine is packed with minerals from our salty diets, and mountain goats will forgo these journeys if there's a lot of urine around." So basically, national parks are having problems with mountain goats being attracted to human urine, so much so that they've had to airlift them out of the national parks, according to Popular Mechanics. And I want to thank ZP for sharing this essential knowledge with all of us.
Hold on now.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they being airlifted out of the national parks?
Because they're so ravenous for human pee that they're just trampling over things, knocking over porta-johns, ripping people's clothes off. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but they're causing havoc.
Mountain goats developed a taste for human urine and sweat.
Yep.
They love bumping and grinding. So before I introduce that other voice, I just wanted to say the movie I was referencing earlier was Meet the Spartans, not 300 Spartans. That is a different film. So, you know, I'm sorry to the slander at 300 Spartans. I meant it at Meet the Spartans. That other voice you heard is M. Palladino, the Mistress of Games. Hello, M.
Hello. My old meme of the day is the goats crave that mineral. If you were on Tumblr in the 2012-ish range, you might remember that one.
That's
no one
good to
knows
know.
what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I assume it means piss.
There's, hold on, crave that mineral. It's a picture of a goat that is up a almost probably 75-degree wall. It says, "Alpine ibexes climb nearly 90-degree angles to lick salt deposits off of mountainsides. They crave that mineral."
Ravenous for it.
And that for some reason got the phrase "crave that mineral" going.
That's pretty good. That is a good phrase. That's a phrase that should be used more for certain.
I'm sorry, it was 2014. Pardon my mistake.
Damn.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right. So before we get into Sir Whoopass, Sir Whoopass : Immortal Death, not to be confused with some other Sir Whoopass. We got our normal housekeeping. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens@libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And just a reminder, we are also asking people to donate if they can to the National Network of Abortion Funds. Stuff still not great in the U.S. for folks looking for abortions and medical care adjacent to abortions. Because you know what? To a doctor, a miscarriage and an abortion can look real similar, or a miscarriage and other kinds of, health.
Life-threatening ectopic pregnancies, all kinds of stuff.
Yes, all sorts of stuff look very similar, and the laws that are now propagating about half of the U.S. states make it very difficult for people to get the life-changing and life-saving medical care that they require. So if you're in a position to do so, National Network of Abortion Funds, go donate. We've got a link in the show description. So, on to lighter fare. We have the Discord report as per usual. If people were to support the show, they might end up on
the Discord report. This week on the Discord, we had a recording for our probably one of our longest shows we've done in a while. We did a... Should we tell them? Or should it be a surprise?
I think we do a little tease.
Yeah. We wanted to answer the very important question of who the lesbians go crazy for in Final Fantasy games. So in order to solve this, I assembled a crack team, and we spent about 3 hours sorting that out, so you don't have to. So that will be coming.
You're welcome.
Yes.
That will be coming shortly. You will probably see it the week after you listen to this. Will be at least part 1 of the definitive lesbian thirst trap rankings of Final Fantasy characters.
Yes. We will accept no questions on the rankings.
It's because they're perfect.
Because they're perfect. The top 10 is just amazing, top to bottom.
Yeah, and the VOD for the live stream version of that, I did production.
Yeah. Gino made a PowerPoint. It was really good.
Gino made a PowerPoint?
I live edited a PowerPoint.
Incredible.
It was fun. So that's coming out. Look out for that.
Yeah, also in the Discord, we did it. We made a fantasy basketball league to support the Balls Deep podcast. We, I believe, currently have a league of 12. We've got 2 spots left. So if you're listening to this and you're a patron, go into the Balls Deep channel. I know it's a scary channel. It's about basketball most of the time. And we've got a link in there where you can join our league, and the patron who does the best in the league will get to pick a game for the main show to play. This is your opportunity. I know you've been screwing up, off the deep end all year with your picks, but you could screw us up. You could pick for us a game to play, or, you could pick a good one. That'd be cool too. That'd be fun.
No.
No
good ones allowed this year.
Nothing with under a 40-hour runtime. Either, I'm assuming.
Yeah, don't give them ideas.
I'm sorry.
That's fair. But yeah, get in there. We've got, I think, every host of the podcast involved except you, Pete. Host
notoriously uninterested in basketball, as I am.
Yep, notorious. The tallest of our hosts. Just completely uninterested. But you've got all the other hosts, and I know we've at least got some listeners who have written in about the basketball show before. So if you would like to get involved, I know some patrons, or join the Patreon and get in there. It's going to be fun. It seems like some people are going with chaos as their draft strategy. So that's always a good time.
That's what I'm here for.
Yep. Em, you're in here. That's a good point. Em, what do you know about basketball so people know what they're getting into when they run up against you, the most powerful of fantasy basketballers?
I know that you put the ball in the hoop at the other end of the court. I know that if you are taller, you can do more stuff. So I'm going to look for really tall guys. And also if I recognized anyone's name, which is limited to LeBron James.
He's good.
He is.
Who else?
Oh boy.
Stephen Curry.
Yep, Stephen Curry.
Sounds like a name.
He's been a little unsavory lately, though.
Oh, well. Now
Has
I've
he?
learned something.
He's got some thoughts on reproductive rights.
Oh no,
Ew, gross.
Yeah.
Steven.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
I knew
my
he was
whole-
very Christian, so I was
Yes.
concerned
Yeah.
that he might have some opinions I did not enjoy. But boy, okay, boo,
Well, guess I can't pick
Boo
him.
Steven.
boo, Steven.
My whole strategy is I'm going to go based on vibes, and then I'm probably going to rank like third, I want to say, just
Hey.
by nonsense.
As I
And
keep
if you-
saying in the Discord, whenever people say, "But I don't know about basketball," I just go, "It's a deck builder."
That's fair. It is. And have you ever watched like a whole basketball game through?
No,
Okay. I mean, that's fair. No reason you should have to.
I don't think I've watched one basketball game ever. I want to say ever.
That's fine. I mean,
You ever
know,
seen Space Jam?
I've watched Space Jam.
Close
Not
enough.
lately.
You're good. You get it.
I feel I should warn you: you can't draft Michael Jordan.
Damn.
He's not available. You can't draft
Shit.
Shaquille O'Neal either, though his son, I believe, is technically in the NBA.
Hmm.
Yeah, he played on the Lakers summer league team, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I think they, gave him the nepotism roster spot.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So yeah, with that, we've got that going on in the Discord. I think that's most of what's going on in the Discord. So without further ado, it is time for my obsession of the week. And my obsession this week is the band Gorillaz. They're very good.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like we've done them before.
I don't think so.
What's your favorite Gorillaz song, Gino?
Ooh, yeah, probably Dirty Harry.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like Deep Cut, Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head.
That's a good
Mhm.
one. R.I.P. to name of actor who is in that.
Never seen the video.
Oh, is it Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head? Is that the one where it's just like a beat and then a man telling the story of
Yes.
like, yes. So the actor who did the voice, Dennis Hopper.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, he passed away a couple of years ago, but I believe it is Dennis Hopper in that. Yeah, I saw them live recently, and they are a very good live show. Let me tell you, folks, they no longer do the like everyone's behind a screen and they just have the virtual band in front.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask.
They don't
No.
do that anymore?
I mean, they play like the music videos and stuff behind the band, but they have the actual band in front. So like Damon Albarn just kind of, does crowd work stuff and goes into the crowd a lot. It was very funny watching people wrangle his microphone cable because he just kept wandering into the crowd and like, being a good rock star. And so they had to have people like, fish out more line when he needed more and then coil it back up when he came back onto the stage so that no one tripped on it. It was impressive.
Nice.
But yeah, if the songs that they played that did not seem to be available on Spotify are any indication, they've got a new album coming soon and it sounds good. So yeah, Gorillaz, they're very good. They're still a threat. Gorillaz are still a threat. So without further ado, let's discuss Sir Whoopass. M, you did this. You explain why.
I did. Sir Whoopass. Sir Whoopass is a hero from a small indie studio called Atomic Elbow. He is looking to find the legendary villain-beating artifact, TM, to vanquish the Immortal from his floating castle hideout, which is not hidden.
Yeah.
And it's basically like if Skyrim was not taking itself seriously at all. And also you could collect hats. And also that's about it.
Yeah, it's an action game. It's a very loose action game. And by loose I mean like the physics. You get there's three kinds of weapons. There's a fast weapon, a slow weapon, and a magic weapon that's ranged. Your hats have different buffs, but many of them are just the same buff. it's just like, do you want to wear a bowler hat or a fedora or a beanie? And all of them will give you protection from ranged attacks or whatever. And it very much feels like, I don't know, they got some like an Unreal Engine license and threw in as much stuff as they could on top of that.
Sure.
Like the physics puzzles are interesting.
Yeah, they have some of those slidey puzzles too. You know, like the things you used to get when you were a kid, whereas the little square and you had to move the smaller squares to make a picture.
Yeah, you have to
Sliding
slide
puzzle,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some of that. There's some like Simon Says sort of stuff. Not Simon Says, Simon, just Simon.
Just Simon.
There's some Simon sort of stuff.
Yeah, you get a jetpack. It's got a lot of stuff going on. This game is a parody game, is how I would describe it at best. Like the legendary villain beating artifact, they call it that because guess it's a MacGuffin. Don't you get it? Haha! It doesn't matter what it is because it's a MacGuffin. The villain is the Immortal because why should he have a real name or any sort of backstory? He's the villain you have to defeat. Who cares? And that's kind of the attitude of the game towards pretty much everything in it.
Yeah, basically irreverent, I guess would be the.
Yep,
the
that's
nice way
how
to
I
put
would
it.
describe it.
Yeah, it's the. Have either of you ever heard of the game Eat Lead? The Legend of Max Hazard, I believe is his name. Let me
No.
find it. Eat Lead. Eat Lead. The Return of Matt Hazard, which was a parody third-person shooter for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, starring Will Arnett.
I mean, I like Will Arnett.
Yeah.
And the villain is voiced by Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay.
That sounds good.
So yeah, it was a game that was supposed to be a parody of video game cliches, and so they have like there's a character who's Cloud, who's basically Cloud, but his name's like Cumulonimbus or something. There's a villain, and the whole time it's just like Will Arnett riffing about how ridiculous everything is and saying like Duke Nukem lines all the time, and that's what I felt playing this game, except Matt Hazard came out in 2009 to I would say fart sounds in terms of reviews.
This game did have one joke, at least one joke, I'll say, that I thought was genuinely funny.
Okay, what was it?
So it might not be that funny out of context. So the healing mechanic in this game is gnomes.
Yeah.
You eat gnomes, which not that funny. But for whatever reason, I thought the line they used to introduce that when they just said, "These are gnomes. They are your main source of protein." That was the funniest line in the whole game.
Yeah, and they do a pretty good, whenever you eat the gnome to heal yourself, the gnomes scream and blood just kind of comes out, which is kind of funny.
And then their head rolls away.
Yep, their head rolls
'Cause
around.
I guess you can't eat the head.
They don't like
course
being
not.
picked up. They run away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in cages throughout the game.
Yeah, and they also...
A good way to know if there's a gnome around is if you hear little screams, then you can just look around and there's a gnome running away from you.
Yeah. So, like, that's the tone of the game. The enemies you're fighting are, like, orcs and various types of orc, and the names are, like, Orc Noob, Orc S, Boss Orc.
One of them just yells "loser" every time you show up. That was pretty good
Yeah.
too.
There's knights that shoot at you. But I would say there's, like, what, 10 enemy types in this game? 20?
Probably.
Something like
That
that.
much.
There's skeletons.
There's that one teleporty guy. He's annoying as hell.
Yeah,
Mhm.
who
The
summons.
summoner.
Yeah.
And he looks like Slender Man.
Yep.
So the enemies are not that difficult. In terms of combat, you've got, like I said, 3 weapons. You've got a block button. You've got a dodge roll, but you are limited to 3 dodge rolls because balance. It's important. It's critical.
I do want to say the dodge roll is mapped to Alt I hate hitting the Alt button on any game. I don't know
Alt
if
button. I gotta look at
Yeah.
my laptop. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a bad
The-
place for a button.
Yeah, it's not a like space is jump, and then usually I hit the space bar, and then I jump, and I'm like shit, and then I get hit by the attack. I don't think any game should be mapping anything to Alt. I'm putting that out into the world. Pick a different button.
Bold stance.
I think that's wise. I played it on a controller, so
I should have done that.
I believe it was circle to roll, like in every game that has a dodge roll.
That's a lot easier.
Yeah, and like this game expects you to block. Your attacks are not fast enough, and they do not stagger enough on most enemies to actually, just combo kill them. There's not really a lot of like positioning. This is not Dark Souls or anything, or any intense melee combat. And there's also another mechanic. Pete, what's the whoop-ass mechanic?
I don't know. I mean, I might not have used it. I might have been hacking and slashing so hard.
It's like a bar, and then when the bar fills up, you
yes.
do a big spin, and you
Yeah,
whoop ass.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was called the whoop-ass mechanic. I
Yeah.
should have known. It makes perfect sense.
Of course. But yeah, you like the more damage you deal, you eventually fill up this meter, and then you press it to do a super attack. You also have access to cans of whoop-ass, which I believe just fill that bar instantly.
Mhm.
And then there's like a can of armor or something that helps defend you from damage. It makes
There's,
you invulnerable.
Candy.
Yeah.
There's.
There's grog.
Mhm.
Grog just heals you, right? Or does it? I didn't.
It
drink
makes
the
you
grog.
kind of drunk,
Cool.
and it heals you.
Yeah, so like that's kind of what's going on. You pick up, you kill enemies. There are 3 different types of upgrade item. One that upgrades your fast weapon, one that upgrades your heavy weapon, one that upgrades your magic stick. And as you get more of them, you can go to the blacksmith, who will sell
I
you
thought that was
better
a good
weapons.
joke too. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I came to this game, I actually enjoyed my first 2 hours pretty much throughout. That they set you up. They've got the Immortal. He's playing mini golf next to a wyvern with his like Igor equivalent, and they're talking
Sullivan.
about Sullivan, which is a good name. And he commands Sullivan to kill you because Sir Whoopass is in the dungeon. But you break free, and then they introduce the different villains, different enemies. You take them out. You get a little tutorial. You get a blocking tutorial pretty early on. As you escape, your escaping causes like a local adventurer to get crushed to death, and then you have to revive her by like going and getting what is it, like chicken? You have to kill chickens to get eggs, and then find some herbs and spices.
Yeah.
Yep. But you can't read any of the spells once you unlock them, so you just sort of guess at it, and you do a really bad job.
You get some bacon, you get some eggs, and you also turn a cat into coffee. Samson is looking at me like I've offended her.
How dare you?
I didn't do it. The guy in the game did it.
Yeah, and like you revive her, and she's got a cast on her leg because you revived her bad.
You will notice too, at least very early on in the game, I noticed, and I wanted to ask you about this, Em. At no point in the game does anyone's lips move or they change expression or anything at all. Constant stone face. And I have to imagine this was a conscious decision.
Yeah. It's really hard to animate faces. You might know this from other games.
Shocked. Yeah.
It's a cost save. It's a conscious decision as a cost saving measure.
Yep.
Okay. They were like, we have to cut somewhere, and like it can't be on the gnome blood. That's integral to the experience. No expressions.
Compared to making a particle effect to make some blood, making lips move is like taking a fucking doctorate level course. uh,
And it's also such like you make that one gnome blood thing, you can use it a million times. Every time someone speaks, you have to make sure the lips look right.
Yep. Just don't worry about it. It's a intentional. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Exactly. And I think like as I played the game, it got an update and that added like new loading pages.
Oh yeah.
When I first played the game,
pages.
yeah, I mean when I first played the game, the loading screen like barely said anything, and then I noticed when I came back in later, it had added like gnome genocide, 30 gnomes killed today.
It does like a little newspaper sheet, and then it tells all about the horrible stuff you've done in the game. Like the skeletons are scared because you've been killing all of them, and 120 skeletons have died so far. So it's tracking all of your the things you're doing throughout the game, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, it had like orcs are terrified. Orcs are hoarding boxes, and yet this one man's running around destroying them all.
Someone's been breaking all of the barrels. Who could do such a thing?
Yeah, so like it's got a lot of that sort of stuff going on, and I found it charming for the first 2 hours or so. Like you need to go get you have to get a ticket so that you can go up to like this ride at a local carnival. And that's going to let you defeat the evil villain, but oh no, you don't have the right MacGuffin, so you can't defeat him yet. And, you know, it's kind of open worldy. Like the way you warp back to your base of operations is there's a bunch of porta potties in kind of the open world area. And the game will be like, are you sure you want to go in this porta potty? It looks pretty messed up in there. And then it warps you to the like bathroom of a local pub. And you always have toilet paper on your foot, which is kind of funny. But, Pete, can you tell me about barriers and how to remove them and why that might be significant?
Dear Lord. So you have a couple of sort of side missions early on. You help this statue move, even though she's a statue.
All right, she's dabbing.
She's stuck in a dabbing position.
She is. This might have been pre-dabbing though. When did we start to dab?
You mean as in human history?
Yeah, like
the
as a
earliest
society.
dab was in the 1300s.
The earliest recording dab is on a ancient Chinese scroll.
But eventually you get to this point where you have to fulfill basically these two big missions. You got to find the 3 pieces of the villain killing artifact, and you have to destroy the shield around the villain's lair in order to get to it. The thing is, though, in order to destroy these shields, tell you what, let me start here. Listeners, think of a number in your head of what would be a reasonable number of shield generators you might have to destroy. Take a second.
How many would you like in a game?
How many pieces are there of the villain destroying artifact? I bet you
3.
I bet you know. It's 3 because it's always 3.
Easy. Obvious.
But if we're thinking about shield generators, pick a number in your head. I want you to hold it. You're wrong. There are 14.
Yeah.
14. It's too many.
It's too many, and each of them is a separate dungeon that you have to, like, jump up into. And then once you get in there, the dungeon uses, like, one of 4 pallet sets, and then it's just full of monster closets. It's just a bunch of monsters. It's the same 10 monsters over and over and over again. And you know how you can tell you're in, like, a more difficult one of them? They put more insta-kill traps in there. That's the difference. Like, it's the same monsters all the time, and the monsters scale with your level. So even as you're leveling up, they all stay the same. They are the same amount of difficult. The ones that you could kill in one hit at level 1 are still killed in one hit on level 20. There's no difference. Since everything just scales with leveling doesn't matter at all. And, like, the insta-death obstacles that you can run into, like, you can't just level your way through, instantly dying to a whirling blade. and so you just have to get better at the platforming. And this game's physics are not particularly tight. So like
Now,
there
the
are some
jetpack too. It's
Yeah.
very finicky.
right. You get a jetpack because this game, it's irreverent. So the jetpack replaces your jump and will make you go very high up. It's not a great jetpack, I will say. Like it, I
No.
feel like I should be able to feather you. You fall too fast. That's what I would say. But like getting through some of
Just a little bit of tuning on that jetpack, I think.
yeah.
Not quite there yet.
No. And so like some of the tight corridors where it's like a rotating blade, and then like a blast of fire is being shot above the rotating blade, so you have to jump, but you have to time the jump so that you don't get shot by the fire. All those timings are a bit too tight. Thankfully, there's almost no penalty for death, but it's just this is a comedy game. Like who's here for like your weird jumping puzzle? Like who? Em, did you find a similar thing? Because I remember the last time we spoke about this game before this podcast, you seemed to still be in, but I don't think you had gotten to any of this yet.
Yeah. When we talked about it, I had just finished like the on-ramp basically, which is about the first 2 hours
Yeah.
of a like 4 or 5 hour game. The rest of it is basically just dungeons, and I think the jokes also sort of trail off after that too. So it's a little rougher.
It's a
Is
game
what
that
I would
puts,
say.
It puts its best foot forward in the like you can't refund it from Steam after this time frame amount of
That's
time.
it.
And then the back half is so much more padded. Like I think for comedy games, long durations and repeating jokes, I think, is a death knell. Like the first time the IRS agent shows up. Pete, tell me about the IRS agent.
The IRS agent is the Immortal Revenue Service. So they come so you can pay your income taxes. You've been collecting these, smashing these barrels all the live long day. And you can either pay your taxes or you can fight him. I fought him most of the time just to, avoid my taxes.
Oh, you fight him multiple times? I assumed that if you killed him, he stayed dead.
Oh, no. He shows up over and over. I assume it's a different agent of some sort.
I always paid him, and he was always like, wow, I can't believe it. And then he gave me free
Yeah.
grog.
I mean, not free, but you paid him for it.
Look, the government provides goods and services. They don't need to give me grog.
That's true.
The roads being paved is reward enough.
These fine jetpacks just lying around in the countryside.
Yeah, but like the first time the IRS agent showed up, and you just see this guy like wandering over the countryside. If he gets close enough to you, it creates this instance where you have to decide whether to pay or not. That was funny the first time. When he tracked me down like the fifth time, not a funny joke anymore. Or like I think the narrator at one point was saying like immature is what a unfunny person says to a funny person.
Yeah.
And the first time I was like, huh. And then when I realized there were like 5 lines that the narrator ever says, way less funny.
The problem I had with that line is he said it, and I was like, haha, I'm going to reference that in the show if Gino says anything. And then he said it again like 5 minutes later. I was like, oh, it's just going to loop this.
Yeah.
That's not as funny. That kind of kills my whole thing.
That's the thing is like the first 2 hours in, I'm like, okay, this game's not hard. It's pretty brisk with the jokes. It got some charm to it. I liked when I got my first hat, and it I think was a top hat for me. And your character, he's already got a horned helmet on, so just putting a top hat on top of it is very funny. But then I realized like there are, I think like maybe 5 variants of the buffs that the hat can have. There's a bunch of different hats, but most of them are the same hat. The jokes repeat themselves. The enemies don't have a lot of variety. And like you said, Pete, they chose 14 dungeons to pad out the runtime.
Yeah. You know what this reminded me of almost is, or you know what I was thinking of when I was playing this game was like if Octodad had like 7 more levels.
Yeah.
I would have just been furious the whole time.
That would have been a mistake. Yeah, this game basically took the parts that were cheap to produce and made a lot of it. which is
I
combat.
will say the voiceover guy, they should have given him more lines to read, but he does a very nice job.
Yes.
Like if he were an audiobook reader, wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah.
for sure. So Atomic Elbow. Go ahead.
He's also the only guy talking. So
That's true. He's the only one who says anything the whole time. Except for the gnome screams, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, so Atomic Elbow, I looked them up because this game felt very internet. I mean, there was a dabbing statue. They do, oh my goodness, they make multiple Portal jokes in the year of our Lord 2022.
Hold on. I only saw one, and it was on the loading screens. Where did you see the other ones?
There's when you
Oh,
create
well,
a cube for the cube
Companion
puzzle,
cube.
there's a companion cube, and then it makes the kazoo with confetti.
I didn't view that as a Portal joke. I just was like, oh, it's because you made a thing. This game does a lot of like, yay, you made a thing. Have some confetti.
The cube looks like a companion cube, and it's got the confetti and the kazoo.
That's just a box.
It's the same sound effect they used in Portal.
Is it?
It is.
It's been about 20 years since I played Portal, so.
Oh God, Portal is old, isn't it?
I mean,
We're
it's not
old,
20. It's
know.
not 20 years old. Let me save you that.
Yeah, it's not 20 years
heartbreak.
old, but like this game is referencing like they have the lie is a cake. I think it says on a loading screen or something.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Which is like ha ha ha.
Oh
A
no,
lot of
Portal is 15 years old.
yeah.
Oh
You're
my
not that
God.
far off.
Oof. Oh boy.
We're so old.
Like this game's got meme jokes from things that are 15 years old, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel topical. Now
I mean, did you expect like hard hitting contemporary criticism from Sir Whoopass?
no, I don't know.
It feels lazy a little
Yes.
bit in its way.
And like because of that, I thought maybe Atomic Elbow Games is like some irony poisoned teens or something, or like an irony poisoned studio. But I mean, it says on their website here at Atomic Elbow, we pride ourselves in delivering rich and polished experiences our fan bases can enjoy and immerse themselves into. Their games were Sir Whoopass, Switchball HD, which seems to be a Marble Madness clone. If either of you have ever played Marble Madness,
Is that like a marble racer?
you control a marble and you roll it around on the screen to do platforming puzzles.
Like a Super Monkey Ball
Sure.
sort of deal?
Yep.
Yep.
Super Monkey Ball is a ripoff of Marble Madness.
Gotcha.
And before or after the quiz that everyone's talking about. Now more than 15 million played games. Yeah, so those are the
I've
games
never
they've
heard
made.
of it.
Exactly. So they're a small studio based out of Sweden. I would guess that they're, this was not necessarily written in English originally. It's got some good jokes. They just stretch everything way too long. They made too much game. It could have stood to be a 4-hour game instead of, how long did it take you to beat, Pete?
Oh God, too long. I don't know. I was probably like by 4 hours. I wasn't halfway through the dungeons.
Ugh. Yeah, it's too much. It's just too much. They did too much. So what did you think of the actual story, right? So you get the villain beating artifact. What are the pieces?
You get
An umbrella hat.
umbrella hat, which I've always thought when I was a kid were like umbrella hats and chain wallets were like the two coolest thing in the world to me.
Yeah,
It's an umbrella
the
hat.
umbrella
It's
hat.
a
Have
blue
you ever-
cape.
Have you ever seen anyone wearing an umbrella hat?
No, not outside of like theme park employees.
I'm just wondering if you're living in a world where people wear umbrella hats and that's
No.
cool.
It's a
You
big
know,
Philly
I mean,
thing.
I haven't seen anyone wear a chain wallet in 20 years either. I still think
That's
those are
true.
rad.
Fair.
Yeah, everyone knows Philadelphia. People walking around with umbrella hats and chain wallets.
Switchblade combs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the umbrella hat in the open world, the way they gate some of the content is rain because your character rusts. So it's poison damage. They just basically kill you if you go into the wrong area because you don't have the hat. You said a blue cape. What does the blue cape do?
I think it's just another damage buff.
Okay. And what's the final piece?
M, can you remember what the final piece is?
I don't think I ever.
Oh,
got it.
it's a shield.
Oh.
Oh, I was going to say it
Yes,
doesn't
it's a
even matter.
It doesn't really matter.
No. And so then you go to defeat the Immortal. Pete, what happens when you defeat the Immortal?
Oh, so this is they really went for it on
Funny
this one.
story about that.
So
Go ahead, Pete.
you pick up the Immortal Killing Artifact. It's a lollipop, sure. And you try it out, and you instantly just vaporize a cow. Poor cow standing nearby, it's done. It's gone. It's exploded. The Immortal notices this and says, nah, brah, I'm out. And just flies his floating island away.
That's it?
That's the whole thing. Yeah, no, I just told you the ending.
Setting up for the sequel, obviously.
It feels like the end of Holy Grail, where they ran out of money, so the cops come, shut everything down. Like, this feels like they ran out of time and money, and they were like, what do we do now?
I can't imagine the budget for this game was that big, to be fair.
I mean, they saved a lot with the Unreal assets. Just comb that store.
Yeah.
Find whatever you can.
The fact that the puzzles in this game are Simon, where you just step on some, like, a 3x3 grid to play, like, fart sounds or whatever. And, like, sliding block puzzles. Like, they basically took two completely rudimentary designs that have no context in this world, and they put upgrades to your weapons behind it because your weapons have an upgrade system. So, like, you can get new weapons from the blacksmith, but by solving those puzzles, you can upgrade the weapon you already have to a legendary version of it that does 50% extra damage. It's just, like, there's a ton of run padding stuff, and what is the funniest joke you experienced? Pete, I think you explained. And what was the funniest joke in this game?
Oh, I'm sorry, Em, I don't mean to interrupt. Can I do a second one?
Yes.
Go for it.
So my other favorite joke was when you go to the bartender, you can buy a drink, and one of the things you can do is say, surprise me.
Yeah.
Costs 100 points, whatever the currency is. And then just a little burst of confetti pops in front of
And
you.
it goes,
That's it.
surprise.
Yep. That was a good joke, though.
It's the funniest joke. I do remember laughing at something really hard. Oh, it was when you get out of town, you can go over to, like, a pool of water, and there's just, like, a sign that has some symbol on it. And I'm like, what does this mean? And then I waded into the pool, and then immediately a fucking gigantic shark jumped out and swallowed me whole. Like, we're in fucking Draken.
I was going to say, that's a reference to something, too, isn't it?
Yeah. ZP's favorite game, Draken, with a shark that just fucking eats you. And every pool of water has that, which I'm sure there's a game reason they were like, we gotta just make it so people can't go in certain directions. I thought that was very funny the first time it happened to me. Not so much the few times when I, like, accidentally stumbled into water and I was like, and I'm dead. And also it doesn't affect enemies. So you can't actually, like, trick enemies to go into, like, a pool and then they get eaten.
They do?
No, you can't trick them. Which I was disappointed about. Because I was like, oh, I'm a genius. There's a swarm coming. I'm going to just lead them over here. And then they just walk through. And then I waded in to fight them, and then the shark ate me.
Yeah. I, like, the shark, it was my thing, because it's very funny to see a thing that reminded me of Draken in Sir Whoopass. If you haven't listened to the Off the Deep End episode of Draken, or if you haven't looked at the art for Off the Deep End, partially inspired by Draken, That game and this game both have great shark out of nowhere moments. But yeah, like that's kind of it. Like the Chickenator is kind of funny. You get a wand that turns enemies into chickens and it shoots eggs. That's kind of funny.
I also like the fact that they just have Wi-Fi and glowing neon signs everywhere. Like when you go to the town, there is just a big like Wi-Fi inside on the tavern, which doesn't actually affect anything. But
I like that the blacksmith has a little hat on.
Yeah,
he's got a little birthday hat. But
he only wears the hat when you buy something because he's celebrating with you, and then you do a little dance.
Pete, how did the little dances make you feel?
Oh my God. So that was actually probably my favorite part of the whole game. But I had a sneaking suspicion watching these that they're no longer funny because of Fortnite. Like Fortnite has taken the concept of dancing in video games and just squeezed every last bit of profitability out of it to just leave sort of an empty husk devoid of joy.
That's a good way to describe it.
Am I being dramatic? I feel like that's fair.
I mean,
but
look, you could buy the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah. What if it was John Cena doing the dance? What if it was Batman?
What if it was like Naruto?
Yeah. What if it was
like that's?
What if it was the alien from Alien? Would that do anything for you?
Son Goku is doing the Dougie.
I want to go buy Fortnite cards immediately. Just take all my money, Fortnite.
They will. Gladly.
No, yeah, they will continue like just stacking children's nickels to the ceiling. That's Fortnite's business model. We don't have to turn this into a whole Fortnite thing. We've done that already. But I liked the dances until I remembered Fortnite exists.
and then
that
it came
sounds like a Fortnite problem and not a Sir Whoopass problem.
It is. But Sir Whoopass exists in a universe that also has Fortnite.
Yeah. So I guess
fortunately we all do.
Oh God, that's bleak. So I think the big thing to ask here about Sir Whoopass, now that we've kind of described the mechanics and everything, is that this game is clearly trying to be a parody of action games, of the hero's journey, of a lot of video game tropes and conventions, but is simply reproducing cliche designs and cliche story beats, is simply reproducing those with like a fart sound effect after them, or a crappy name instead of the name of a MacGuffin. Calling the MacGuffin. Like, is that enough? Is that funny parody work, or is it lazy schlock? Like, I think that's the question you have to ask here. Like, nothing about this game, if you had played it straight-laced, would have even gotten us to look at it. But we looked at it, and the game that was in front of us, outside of a handful of jokes, was just a straightforward mediocre action game. I shouldn't say bad. It's fine. But if you make a mediocre action game that winks every once in a while, does it actually elevate the game beyond simple mediocrity?
I think personally, as long as it doesn't overstay its welcome too much, it could be fine. If this game was what it was and it ended after 3 hours instead of 8, I think we would like it better.
For sure.
It's better.
I would definitely like it better.
It's better to make it a tight and concise version, especially if you're going to make a parody that is sort of lowbrow, than to make like an actual game, which is what they did after the first 2 hours.
Gino, I think you're asking a good question. It's a question I asked myself as I was playing it. Here's my thoughts and issues with it. I think a game like this that's based entirely around, I shouldn't say entirely, like you said, it's a competent enough at what it does, predominantly around irony, is meant for someone to signal something about themselves, right? So like somebody can play this game and say, yes, I am clever. I've played games, so I get this joke. Therefore, because this game makes me feel smart and clever, it is good. And I think that might be the sort of like self-narrative trap that this sort of irony age is pushing us towards.
Yeah, this game definitely felt like it is in on the joke to a certain degree, but it's trying to cash in on irony, rather than try to make it an especially compelling game or especially compelling narrative. Like in the absence of craft, you can insert irony and hope that it's enough. And I think like the game I mentioned before, Mad Hazard, Eat Lead, The Return of Mad Hazard, that game also reviewed very poorly because at the end of the day, if you go to all the trouble to reproduce bad tropes and just add more riffing or quips, that's not actually a compelling game, even still. And you have to be incredibly funny to make up for the fact that your game part is mediocre. So yeah, that's Sir Whoopass. Any other closing thoughts, or M?
I will say, I think we have played far mediocre action games for this show. I think as far as like...
It's a bit of our wheelhouse, really.
Yeah. We talk about game juice a lot. I think as far as the juice goes, it's like not bad. It's got the reactive hits you want. It made me feel like I was playing Skyrim again, which I never really liked the combat in Skyrim, but I like the combat here. So I judge it slightly higher than we might.
I will agree with you this, Em. I was equally annoyed as a lot of things in Elden Ring for different reasons. So, I'm used to being annoyed generally.
That's fair.
Very fair.
Also, it's only $17 as opposed to $60. So I'm a little bit more inclined to recommend it as opposed to a full length, play some Skyrim on your microwave now, whatever the fuck Todd Howard has put it on lately. You could play this and play it for an hour and 59 minutes and then return it. Is my recommendation. You've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the game's fine. It's just I wish it was just tighter, just a bit more concise. I wish there was just like a skip. Can there just be an ironic skip this bullshit button or something? Wouldn't that have been funny? And then you click that and you don't have to do any of those dungeons and it just cuts to the jokes. Yeah.
I do like that the instead of like skip cutscene button that games would usually have, there's just a fast forward button. And it works like it would work on your TV. Yes, not anymore since TVs don't do that, but you just sort of quickly run through everything and do the dance really fast.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. So with that, we say goodbye to Sir Whoopass : Immortal Death. And it is time once again for me to pick a game for the show. And I'm going to give you both options. I'm going to give you two options. One of them is a role-playing game that's been a long time coming, and some would say the spiritual predecessor to one of our most storied games that we've covered. And the other one
is this just going to be Final Fantasy with a lower Roman numeral?
No.
Good. Okay.
That's a good. And the second one is going to be a first-person shooter, a storied first-person shooter.
The first one.
The first one?
I don't want to play a first-person shooter.
That's fair. So,
I support M's decision.
All right, we are playing Super Mario RPG.
Oh God!
Hell yeah!
Which one?
There's only the one. The Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo.
Isn't there two? Super Mario RPG.
While M's looking this up,
Legend of the Seven Stars.
I've been meaning to play this for a long time, actually, Gino.
Same. It is the spiritual predecessor to Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
What?
I'm already excited. Say
on.
no more.
I think I need
M.
more.
So, Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars is a role-playing game combining Nintendo mascot Mario with the at the time peak of their powers RPG developer Square Enix or SquareSoft. Whereas when Sonic the Hedgehog, clearly an equally viable franchise mascot as Mario, reached out to, at the time, the peak of their powers developer of RPGs, BioWare, to create Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. One is the JRPG, and then, Sonic's like anything Sega does what Nintendo don't, and they made Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Do you see? It's clear.
Sure.
Oh boy, I'm looking at the box art for this game. Boy, Bowser, what happened to you?
It was a dark time in 1996.
What'd they do to you? Also, apparently there's a Gino in this game.
Oh.
I've been told. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah. That's the one everyone wanted for Smash for some reason.
Look, put Gino in Smash. Do it.
Put-
So the alternative
Put
was
you
going
in
to be
Smash.
the alternative was going to be Chex Quest.
What the fuck?
Chex Quest. Can you even find Chex Quest anymore?
Oh, you can.
Do I have to buy cereal to play this game?
I'm sure it's around. It's probably available somewhere. We could have
It's
found
on
it.
Steam in HD.
Fuck.
I mean, I've played it. It's fine. It's Chex Quest.
It's also
Uh,
free, so you can save that
of course
one
it
for
is.
later.
It's an ad. It's an ad you play.
Why not pick fucking Sneaking, the Burger King game at that
I
point?
have Sneaking already.
Of course you do.
Oh, damn. I don't like that they up-resed Chex Quest. I would have wanted the old, ugly Chex Quest.
It's unauthentic now. Before it was such an authentic gaming experience.
Yes. All right. So next up, we are playing Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this game had some jokes. It just had too much other stuff around it.
Thank you, M.
Thank you for humoring me for another torturous game that I thought was fine.
The publisher for Chex Quest is General Mills. That's incredible. On Steam. Next time we'll look at that. And thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and Deep Listens Podcast at gmail.com. That's our email address. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.